There are three kinds of people: those who have a financial plan, those who don't have a financial plan, and the third category, those who aren't really sure. Like, I don't know. I got something from my bank. I get these statements. I've had the conversation. I don't really know. I save, I invest, but I don't know. So today we're going to talk about what actual financial plan, like a good one, what it actually includes, what it looks like, what it tells you. Joining us is Sandi Martin. She is a certified financial planner. She is an advice-only financial planner, and she joins us today from Gravenhurst, Ontario. Hello there.
Well, hello there.
Why, first of all, why do you think it, and you're preaching to the choir here, but why do you think it is important to have a proper financial plan?
Oh, well, it's the same reason that it's important to have a map when you're going somewhere. If you don't care where you end up, it doesn't matter if you have a map. And if you care where you end up, as in, when you pay off your house, for example, or when you buy a house, or when you stop working, you should probably have a map. And that's a financial plan.
That's very, very helpful metaphor here. Talk about some of the things that a real and true financial plan will include, and that
Mhm.
make it abundantly clear for some people to say, "Oh, wait a sec, I don't have that." So, what are some things that they include?
Well, the first and most important thing is something that the client, so you person listening, provides, which is the whole reason for the plan. So the purpose, right? I'm stealing from Bruce's terminology here, but your purpose matters because nobody takes their financial plan with them when they go shopping or make any other decisions, generally speaking, right? So you have to know your financial plan needs to recognize that there's something that you want out of life, and here's the path to get it, the financial plan. So that's, maybe that's a little bit woo-woo, but that's super, super
Yeah.
important. And if you don't know how your plan connects to what's important to you, then you might not actually have a financial plan. So that's one.
Is there a
There's
second?
others.
Yeah. I bet there's a second, a third, and a fourth. Yeah. Name some
Yeah,
others.
yeah. Well, there's actually six other ones, really, technically speaking, right? So a financial plan, everything in finance touches everything else. So your plan should reflect how you actually spend your money and how you want to spend your money in the future. It should reflect what debt you currently have or plan to have and how you're going to manage that in a really smart way. It should include the fact that some bad things happen. So how do you protect against that, whether it's insurance or some other strategy? It should talk about your investments. So what do they need to do? How do they fit into the grand scheme of things? And it should talk about the end of work eventually, or if you've already finished working, whether you call it retirement or financial independence, it doesn't matter, but eventually you're going to stop earning a paycheck. What does that look like? And the last thing, or the two last things, really, what happens to the stuff that you leave behind when you are finished on this earth, and what happens to taxes for your whole lifetime, and including when you're finished on this earth and the people who get your assets have to pay tax for you too.
You and I both work in this space and have for a very, very long period of time. One of the, in addition to this broad context of the why or the purpose, there's some specific goals. Like, what do I want? Do I want to retire at 60? Am I happy to keep working? What do I want in terms of my home, my travel, supporting my kids in education? Um, how does one ensure that the goals question is sufficiently answered, is holistic in nature, and captures the things that are really important to us?
You kind of first have to know what's important to you. So there is a little bit of self-reflection that needs to go in. You can't go into a plan engagement and expect the person across the desk to deliver to you the things that are important to you, the goals that you have. So that's the first part. And then, when from my seat, that there's a lot of questions that you have to ask. Um, because you can't just say, when do you want to retire? And whatever the other questions are, you have to know why that is the answer. So you have to go deeper than just the first set of questions. You have to really understand what went into the answers you're given.
And I think for a lot of people who wonder if they have a financial plan, their answer is now no, because they
Yeah,
realize that those goals just weren't sufficiently captured. They weren't discussed. They weren't reviewed. What they probably have is some sort of an investment plan or something that's more surface in nature.
yeah.
There's also a lot of assumptions because at the heart of this financial plan is a good load of math. There's a lot of math. What are some of the assumptions that you make in your profession? Some of which are grounded in data, and some are not. Like market performance is grounded. We can look to data on that. Talk a bit about the assumptions.
Yeah, well, the biggest assumption that we have to make in planning is when people are going to shuffle off this mortal coil. We need
Mm.
to know when people will die. And because we don't know that, we have to make assumptions. And
Yeah.
so, that is data driven, right? There is actuarial science that's all dedicated to, when people on average might pass away. But that's an assumption we have to make, and we have to make that with clients. We have
Mm.
to make assumptions about, there's data about inflation, for example, the cost of
Yep.
living, but that's not personalized. I might not buy any of the things that are in the basket of goods that are measured. So we have to make
Right.
assumptions about that, right? Oh, we have, oh, there's a whole list of things. Man, it's hard even to come up with all 12,000 assumptions we
Yeah.
make.
Yeah. Home prices, equity returns, and not
Yeah.
just equity returns, because maybe you're not fully in equity, you've got fixed income. So you then bring that and clickety clackety into a computer. You have this output, and the output is here's what this is going to look like based on these goals. When you think you're going to die, your estate is 0 or 10 million or whatever it is. So you've got this starting snapshot of how it all hangs together. It doesn't end there. I assume as the CFP, you're going back and saying, okay, let's iterate. You wanted to leave 10 million to your kids and retire at 42. That's not happening based on what you've outlined. So now let's iterate. What does that part of the financial plan development look like?
Oh, yeah. I call that one trying to break the financial plan. So we have to, of course, get to the point where we can come to some satisfactory future, right? So if they wanted 42 and they wanted 10 million, maybe it's 55 and 6 million, or maybe it's
Right.
something else entirely. So first we have to say, if you can't have that, what would you be comfortable with instead? What are the trade-offs you're willing to make? But then, even if because math to be able to project a number at age 92 of how much money you're going to have, it involves what I call straight line planning, right? So averages, average inflation, average investment return, and we chart that all out, and things grow according to how much you put in or take out, and then you have this nice graph that pinpoints exactly what you're going to have at age 92. This is where breaking the plan comes in, because we know that's not how inflation or investments work.
Mm.
And if we had just used averages, let's say in 2020, 2021, when inflation went right through the roof,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have served us very well. So what we're also trying to do is say, okay, what is the worst combination of all these factors that are outside of our control, what the markets do, what the economy does, all those things. What's the worst combination of those that could happen and you still be okay? And even though that's kind of doomerish, right? What
Mm.
we really want is for people to be surprised on the upside, not on the downside.
Mm. An exercise plan has some recommendations. If I were to go to a trainer and say, I'd like you to build a plan for me, they would say, here's what you're going to do with the bicep curl. Here's how many times a week. Like there's actions to take. For most people, unless you're sitting on a nest egg of that $10 million, there's actions you take. You say, wow, I need to cut spending, or I need to have a more aggressive investment return, or whatever it is. What are some examples of those specific recommendations, and how do you, as the CFP, endeavor to ensure people do them?
Isn't
Like,
that the magic
you know,
question?
just follow the plan that we work so hard on.
Well, so the first thing that as a CFP we need to do is winnow down the number of actions that people should be paying attention to at any given time. Because really, I could give you a list of 15,000 things you should do. That's a hyperbole. If I give you a really long list, it becomes very difficult to you feel even motivated to start on a list that has 15 things. But if your list has three things that are
Mm.
really going to move the needle, and then you do the next three things the next time, that's actually doable. So that's part of it. Yeah, the kinds of actions that people end up, often there's ones that I think maybe are pretty obvious. Put this amount into your savings this year. If you do nothing else, get this amount into your savings. Oh, and also this type of savings. So for you, it makes sense to put that amount in RSPs, for example, or your kids' education savings plan. So really amounts, accounts, and then there are often little fine tuning things that might not be that obvious, like, hey, did you know that your mom is still listed as the beneficiary on your RRSP? Do you think that
Mm.
that will make a problem for your wife and kids, for example?
Right.
That's all. Those are often little actions that are included. Sometimes they're little got like gimmies, like really easy ones. When it comes to even a short list of things that need to be done, even if it's, we've done all the work to make them as, appealing, as doable, as narrowed down as possible, there's still work to do and people are very busy.
Mhm.
And so I think one of the things that helps the most, well, there's two things. The one that I have control over is making sure that I nag them about it. I'm a mother of
Nice.
teenagers. I'm very good at it, but in a way
Yes.
that is gentle, right? So just
Yeah.
knowing that they're going to talk to me a year from now and I'm going to say, hey, how did that go?
Yeah.
That's often enough to get people
Yeah.
to do the work. Another one is actually, again, I'm stealing this 100% from you. You did this very well in your book, is talk about community, right? If you
Mhm.
tell somebody that you are going to do a thing, even if it's not your financial planner,
Yeah.
it becomes harder to not do it if it's somebody
Yeah.
that cares about you and is invested in your well-being because they're going to ask you.
Yeah. How's that going?
Yeah.
So there's the ensuring that the actions occur. You don't need to redo the entire plan every 5 minutes, though. What is
Oh, good
the
golly.
cadence in which you do need to have a fulsome view of the plan to look at it and see, these assumptions have changed?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I think rather than do a full review of the plan every 3 to 5 years, which you might choose to do, I prefer making small adjustments on a once a year basis because once a year you're getting your investment returns for that year, which are key assumptions in the plan. Once a year you're filing your taxes. So we're looking at, once those types. So it aligns with the kinds of things you're already getting. And then if we take a look at those investment returns, for example, if they're really bad that year, it doesn't mean we have to do anything to the plan. What we're really paying attention to is there any small adjustment that makes sense to do now once a year that avoids a really big surprising adjustment with lots of work involved 2 years from now or 5 years from now?
Really interesting stuff.
Mhm.
Advice only financial planning and having a proper plan makes such a big difference for people. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us with your passion and your experience on this topic. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's so fun to talk to you, Bruce.
Sandy Martin is a certified financial planner. She joined us from Gravenhurst to talk about, like, what really are we talking about when it comes to a financial plan.